Welcome to TNT Episode 13, Triskaidekaphobia.
This is one of the scariest episodes we've ever done, Taylor.
Without a doubt.
Yes, as you could tell from that scary title sequence. Because this is a special episode. It is our 13th episode.
Very terrifying.
And everyone knows that the number 13 is a number to be scared of. And this fear of the number 13 is known as Triskaidekaphobia.
In fact, I'm going to burn the footage of this episode after we're done, unless I turn weak at the last moment, but...
Yeah, please don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to record again. But then it'll be episode 14, so it'll be okay.
So Triskaidekaphobia is only one of the names that we're going to use today. There is actually a fear of the Friday the 13th, referred to as Triskaidekaphobia.
Which is far more specific, but probably applies more often than just the fear of 13.
Fear of Friday the 13th.
Dun,
What's
dun,
the
dun,
other
dun.
name for the fear of Friday the 13th?
Friga Triskaidekaphobia.
So, we're introducing you to a lot of new words because this is very important stuff. Actually, we're doing a special episode today because it is our 13th episode, and because we were going to do another review of the Chronicles of Narnia, but I still need to read the book. So
Very understandable.
The real reason that we're doing this particular episode.
You're just lucky you didn't get a video of us eating jelly beans and drinking Kool-Aid.
They might find that more interesting, actually.
Perhaps.
So, the number 13, let's talk about it. Especially Friday the 13th. Let's start there. What interesting things have happened on Friday the 13th?
Depends on what you mean by interesting.
Yeah, well, I find the first one to be interesting, and that's that my parents were married on Friday the 13th.
Well, that's a good thing.
I think that's very significant, for me at least.
Not so much for me, but...
What do you mean? I mean, if they weren't married, then I wouldn't be here. If I weren't here, then
true.
Where would you be? Not here talking about Friday the 13th.
I might be somewhere else talking about Friday the 13th.
Maybe. The Olsen twins were born on Friday the 13th.
Interestingly enough, that was listed under a list of bad things that happen on Friday the 13th.
Oh.
So,
well, you know, we were getting this information, a lot of this, from our deep research we did in the last 20 minutes on the internet. So,
well, I did try to check my sources as much as I could, which does not mean
Wikipedia!
No!
There are movies about Friday the 13th, because this particular day is so feared. So, they've made a great, a lot of money off of this. I don't think the movies are good, I haven't seen them, but they've made a lot of money off of these movies. What about some history? King Philip IV?
Yes, he ended Knights Templar on Friday the 13th, which wasn't a very
I didn't know what Knights Templar was.
And I informed him they're like the Jedi of the Middle Ages.
Yeah, okay. So he
They were
got
the
rid of the
people in the
Jedi.
Crusades.
He was like Emperor Palpatine.
He was an emperor, and he was evil to, at least from the Templars' point of view.
Yeah, from the guys whose whole order was.
And the Pope was supposedly on it too, so it was like if Emperor Palpatine and Yoda decided to get together and eradicate all the Jedi, which could possibly have happened. The world may never know. Maybe it did happen. Maybe they were actually the Jedi and we just rewrote history because we don't have lightsabers now.
I don't know. Well, okay, so those are a few things. One other one is that we read that 5 German bombs hit Buckingham Palace on a Friday the 13th, destroying its chapel.
The Palace Chapel, which that's, no matter who you are, that's pretty unlucky. Even if you aren't Philip IV.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Is the number 13 actually unlucky? Or is it not? Well, researchers estimate that at least 10% of the United States population has a fear of the number 13. And each year, the even more specific fear of Friday the 13th results in financial losses in excess of $800 million annually.
Mostly because people say, I don't want to do this on Friday the 13th, so they go out of their way and do something that's less convenient and usually more costly and time-consuming Just to avoid it being...
People actually avoid being married on Friday the 13th. However, my parents do not fit that category. They were married Friday the 13th and had me. Yeah, so that just proves how lucky the number 13 is.
And, of course, the human mind loves to look for patterns and doesn't really focus on randomness and chaos so much. So if you lined up every day of the year and looked at all the bad things that happened on them, I'm sure Friday the 13th wouldn't be anywhere near the top. I guess it could be.
You're sure? Where's your proof?
That
Wikipedia?
Wikipedia.
What does it say?
I do know that very recently we had a week span of time where a lot of newscasters and just various people who had nothing better to do with their time than to write articles and stories were writing about how all the horrible things that happened during this certain 1 week period of time throughout history. So
it's not related to the number 13. Though.
No, it isn't.
So
you just have to fear entire
verifiable data apparently shows otherwise. But 10% of the United States population. It'd be really funny if it was like 13%.
It would be really funny. I'm just surprised it's not more than 10.
Maybe they just wanted to avoid. Maybe they wanted to avoid putting 13 in their articles, so they bumped it down to 10 to make it sound more than 10%. We're not going to say 13.
Not be afraid of 13, just so that it won't be 13% and then doom everybody.
That would be bad. That would be bad. So, a lot of people. The point is, are scared of Friday the 13th. According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville,
one of those?
I'm scared to go there. More than 80% of high-rise buildings in the United States do not have a 13th floor. And a vast majority of hotels, hospitals, and airports avoid using the number for rooms and gates as well. We got this, by the way, from History.com.
Not Wikipedia.
So, not Wikipedia. So this is even more factual information.
If anything could possibly be more factual than Wikipedia.
Well, direct source. History.com. But the point is that they actually make buildings without a what does that mean, though, without a 13th floor?
Maybe they made the whole building and then had the 13th floor carefully destroyed, and that's where most of the money comes from, because they have to carefully remove the whole floor.
Because I think if you literally didn't have the 13th floor, that would cause a lot of bad luck in and of itself.
Maybe it's just like an empty space, and there's just like supports that go up on the corners, and the elevator just passes through the 12th floor to an empty space onto the 14th floor.
I think what they're saying is they renumber it.
Oh, why would you do that when you could just easily take out an entire floor?
Yeah, I mean, that's cheating just to renumber it. That's not actually changing how many floors you have. But anyway, that's apparently what they do at airports. They take out the gate number 13, or they don't include it. They don't include... Then
somebody from Europe comes over where they consider first floors and ground floors differently. And so they start going up, and to them, they are going to a 13th floor, even if it's numbered differently, because there isn't a ground floor to them. So
well, if they're from Italy, though, then that really confuses things, because apparently people in Italy, according to Wikipedia, think that 13
is a lucky
number, at least in some parts of Italy. And also at Colgate University, because it was founded by 13
people
men with 13 prayers.
And $13.
And $13.
Whatever that
means. Took a lot of luck to start a university with that amount of money, I can tell you. So, a lot of interesting tidbits about the number 13. How about the United States of America? Started
13
with
colonies.
13 colonies.
13 stars for the 13 colonies on our flag.
Now, what does that say about how lucky or unlucky the number 13 is? Our country! Pretty much founded on the number 13.
Pretty much.
And like we said, some countries, places actually consider 13 to be a lucky number.
Very few.
Yeah, very few. But for some reason, a lot of people consider it to be unlucky. How about this one? The Apollo 13 mission. What does that say? I mean,
there were 13s all over that. It was crazy.
They left at 1313.
By military time, 1313 was, I don't know if it was Friday the 13th, but it was the 13th of whatever when they were, pulled into orbit or something like that.
I don't know. But it's Apollo 13.
Apollo 13.
The mission was the 13th, and they ended up in a very, very perilous situation. Mm-hmm. However, they made it back safely. That was
so was it
lucky.
Unlucky, or was it really unlucky that there was a failure, or was it really lucky that they survived, even though there was all this stuff apparently working against them? So
I don't know. I think the verdict is out as to whether the number 13 is to be feared or not. So if you have Triskaidekaphobia, we hope this episode has in some way informed you and helped you. So at least you know what to call your phobia now.
We've given you all these examples of horrible things that have happened on Friday the 13th, and we sincerely hope that it'll help you get over your fear of the number 13.
Yes, and we're so glad that we could help you today. So thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you next time. Subscribe.
Spread the word.
And see you next time.